So Dale Sr., obviously a very popular guy, and there's no doubt, man, on the short tracks, I was winning them races. On the big tracks, he was winning the races. We go to Charlotte, I'd win the Coke 600, I'd win Michigan, I'd win, those intermediates a little bit, and we were back and forth, and we were big buddies. People didn't know that, man, we're racing like hell, and we vacationed a lot. Mm-hmm. Hell, we would go down to Bahamas, my wife, Patty, his wife, Teresa, and all of us, and the NASCAR boys, and we'd have a great old time down there. And we're wonderful friends. Always have been till the day he died. Mm-hmm. And then we get on the racetrack, and he'd work for his team and do his deal. I work for my team, I'd do my deal, and we'd race back and forth, and that's it. The fans were going crazy up and down. But I drove my car as hard as I could drive it. He drove his as hard as he could drive it. And I won my fair share, from, let's call it 93 to 2005, to the day I quit, But 93 to 2000, it was magical years, man. We were doing some crazy things that were amazing. 93, I won 10 races. 94, we switched from Pontiac to Ford. I won 8 races, and the career just kept going. And every time I would win, Earnhardt was second. And every time Earnhardt would win, I was second. Mm-hmm. It was just like that, back and forth, it just wouldn't stop. It was amazing. It was really good.
Do you think that was the rivalry that NASCAR needed? Because right now, I understand that you don't race anymore, and I understand that you're in the Hall of Fame and you're retired, and you got all your, in a fun way, all your competitors now are your friends. But back then, it was looked at as a rivalry. I don't know if we have any rivalries anymore like you guys had. Did you know at that time that you were a great race car driver, number one, knew your chassis, that was number one, but you also had to know that you and Earnhardt were a show?
Well, that's a good question. We've done some real crazy things when it comes to the show. I can only remember like 2 times that we actually did a show deal on the racetrack. But look, whether I was winning Bristol, when it was all said and done, my career was done, I had 9 wins at Bristol. And Earnhardt was always rattling me all the time. Man, help me with that setup. Help me with those setups. And you know what? You're not going to believe this. I was on a boat one time in the Bahamas. He said, look, man. And I that particular year, I was not in the hunt for the championship, and he was. Come on, man, help me with that setup. Help me with that setup. Do you know I gave him the exact setup, the real setup, right to the T. And you know why I wasn't concerned?
Why?
You're not going to believe this one. The reason I knew I was not concerned is I knew that he could not sell it to his team.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I knew the team would look at this and say, Rusty's bullshitting you.
Yeah.
And you know what? I didn't lie.
Yeah.
I gave him that entire setup.
Right.
And I looked at him, I said, what you got in the car? Before the race started, he said, this. And when it was all said and done, you know what he did?
What?
He used 70% of that setup I gave him. And you know what happened? I waxed his ass.
Yeah.
I beat his ass that night so bad. You know why? Because he didn't do what I told him.
Yeah, he didn't do the whole thing. Well, you always said that to me back in the ASA days. You had mentors. You had Larry Phillips. You had Dick Triple. And you did everything they told you to do. And then when you went to pay it forward, do you find that, like, either when you're first starting out, they don't believe you, and then when you get to the big time, then Earnhardt, like you said, he goes to Richard Childress, hey, put this in, because Rusty told me. Do you think they thought you were lying, or their pride got in the way? Do you think people's pride gets in the way?
No, I don't think the pride got in the way of the driver. I think the pride got in the way of the team.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Because the driver was in trouble. He couldn't get the car to handle the way it was, so he went outside to get some help.
Right.
I went outside to get some help from Mark Martin all the time. I went outside to get some help from Jeff Burton. Jeff Burton went outside to get some help from me. Mark Martin got some help from me. We told each other exactly the truth.
Yeah.
To the truth. And what was amazing, that I always knew what goes around comes around. You can't run this thing by yourself, man. It takes a team, or it takes friends to do this stuff. And there might be one day I'm in the ditch and I need some help. There's a lot of times they're in a ditch and they need some help.
Yeah.
And we did that. And I tell you what, I got in a bunch of crap with our 2-car team at Team Penske. I mean, those guys, the other team, I mean, they were really locked down, super secret, everything, And I didn't believe in that, man. I didn't believe in that. And I share it a lot, but you know what? It worked out for me.
Yeah.
And it worked out for me really good, and that's the way I live my life. And I'm an honest guy. I tell those guys everything. And I could sit there and say, tell them the truth. But I know in my heart
they're not going to listen.
They're only going to lose 70%, 80% because they think I'm bullshit. I'm not, you know.
Yeah.